Hello, my name is Caroline Tiddy, and I'm recording this presentation today from the land of the Kaurna people in Adelaide. This presentation gives a summary of results of a pilot study being conducted at UniSA. This study is looking at enablers and barriers for women to achieve leadership levels within government, industry, and academic geoscience organisations. The project is being undertaken by a multidisciplinary team involving researchers who focus on gender issues, entrepreneurship, and geosciences. So, why do we need diversity? Research has shown that organisations with diversity at strategic levels will have improved performance and innovation. This is because a diverse group with diverse backgrounds has the potential to bring a lot of ideas to the table. This project is specifically looking at gender diversity. The approach is very simplified, as we are looking at gender as a binary entity of male and female. We have not considered diversity of other forms, such as intersectionality. How do we know we have issues of lack of gender diversity in geosciences? The graph on the left shows the number of males and females employed at different academic levels within Australian universities. We can easily see that the difference in the number of males versus females increases at more senior academic levels. The graph on the right shows the number of male and female employees within the Australian mining sector. Not only do females comprise only a small percentage of employees in the mining sector, but they represent a very small number of people in management positions within these organisations. But do we really need to bother with trying to reach gender equality? This slide shows some quotes from senior female geoscientists within academic, government or industry organisations. These quotes give examples of where we were 25 years ago and how gender diversity was not seen as an issue or was brushed under the carpet. They also give an insight into how a minority can feel, even though they may not say it. But do we really see these same issues today? This quote is from a female graduate geologist who is less than 3 years into her geoscience career. She is showing that she is downplaying her femininity and sees uncertainty in where she herself fits into the geoscience profession, even as a young graduate. In career research literature, this has been categorised as a double-blind dilemma, where female behaviour is not valued and masculine behaviour is not condoned and can hinder career progress. We conducted an interview-based study of 61 geoscientists across Australia. We interviewed people from junior through to senior levels and from academia, government and industry. Interviews were conducted by a project team member, Andrahannadi, who is independent of geoscience and has no prior history with those who were interviewed. The interviews were conducted face-to-face, over the phone and over video conference as appropriate, and each interview went for about 1.5 hours. Questions were asked about perceptions of the interviewee's career from undergraduate studies to their current position. Respondents were asked to provide a visual metaphor that describes their career and that of the opposite gender. Metaphors were used as they are fun and provide structure and organisation to our perceptions of a complex topic, in this case, perception of careers. Differences between the career perceptions of males and females may highlight underlying reasons for gender inequality. Before you go any further in listening to this talk, if you were not one of the 61 geoscientists who were interviewed as part of this study, we would very much appreciate if you could help us with a bit more data collection and to have some fun yourself with thinking about your own career and that of others. If you click on the link on this slide, you will be directed to an online survey. The survey includes asking you to provide metaphors for your career and that of the opposite gender. We ask you to do this before listening to this talk so that you are not biased by the metaphors others have provided and that will be discussed in this presentation. The names and details of all respondents are kept strictly anonymous and confidential. Results for career self-perceptions are shown here. Not every respondent was able to give a metaphor which demonstrates the complexities of careers. Self-perception metaphors were categorised as being a journey, a character, an image, or a reflection. There was no preference to one or the other type of metaphor between men and women. In general, the self-perceptions of senior people were more reflective than for junior, which is to be expected for people who are further progressed in their careers. The table shown here was derived by assigning up to 3 words to each self-perception metaphor to describe it. Shown here are the words that were most commonly used or with the most difference between responses from males and females. Concepts have been challenging or hopeful were the two strongest descriptive words that emerged and were more common from men. Women more commonly described their careers as progressing or ongoing, with no end in sight. Conversely, men more commonly used metaphors to show that they had achieved in their careers. At the same time, though, men showed elements of being frustrated in their careers. When asked for metaphors describing the career of the opposite gender, men dominantly used reflective metaphors to describe the careers of women, whereas women dominantly used character metaphors to describe the careers of men. In general, the metaphors provided by men about a woman's career had more positive aspects. Using the same methodology as used for the self-perceptions, up to 3 descriptive words were assigned to the metaphors describing the career of the opposite gender. On one hand, the image that came to mind to describe a man's career was one of an aged white man. The metaphors showed elements of a man's career being considered less challenging, that men tend to be competitive, are less aware that diversity issues exist, and that they are within a boys' club even if they do not realise it. However, the metaphors also described elements of high intelligence, being adventurous and curious, and with many positive attributes such as being supporters, lovely, active, and selfless. Men perceive a woman's career as being significantly more challenging. The metaphors also showed elements of women being a minority and of being determined leaders. Women were described with positive attributes such as capable, incorporating, strong, and engaging. Only one interviewee saw women and men as being equal, with no difference between them. The strongest dissonance in perception is that men feel that their career is challenging, and in some cases they express frustration at their career. However, women do not see men as being challenged and consider that men have an easier career path. However, although men feel more challenged than we all may expect them to be, they also feel as though they have achieved, which is something that was not seen within women. Instead, women see their career as ongoing and never ending. Achievement gives a sense of satisfaction to a career. Therefore, why is it that men feel as though they have achieved and women do not? The dominating and competitive nature of men in their careers was not seen by women in a positive light. However, men do not describe their careers in this way. Given that there are more men in geoscience, this highlights how the way we present ourselves can impact negatively on others, although we may not mean it in that way. This is not to say that being competitive is wrong. A little competitiveness can go a long way. The more positive tone of men's perceptions of women's careers highlights that the issue of gender diversity within geoscience is gaining traction. We just need to work on going about increasing gender diversity, and of course diversity in general, within geosciences in a way that is fair to all and that is backed by reasonable evidence of our actions. The study that we have presented here is a pilot study of only 61 geoscientists. We have only looked at gender as being binary, and we have not investigated other forms of diversity such as intersectionality. The results that we have shown here highlight that there are issues of diversity within geosciences, and some of these issues arise with how we perceive one another. We have shown that there are stark differences in the way that we perceive ourselves versus how we are perceived by others, and that the perceived career paths for men versus women are seen as being very different. However, on a positive note, both men and women, including the youngest generation of geoscientists, are hopeful that they will be successful in their geoscience career, meaning that they can see an appealing career path. The metaphors discussed in this presentation form just a small part of the data collected in the interviews conducted in this study. We will be continuing to analyse the data and identify enablers that will lead to gender diversity within geosciences, such as opportunities for mentoring or career sponsorship. We will also be looking at how we can engage with the stakeholders of this small study in developing ideas or practices that could be adopted to enable gender diversity. For example, how can organisations begin or continue to engage with SAGE activities, and what has or hasn't worked for them? Or whether there is a role that professional organisations can play. So keep an eye out on this space, and if you want to contribute to the study, be sure to do the survey and pass the link on to your colleagues, or get in touch with us and have a chat. Thank you very much.